about this. Excited to have you, Tommy. Tonight, I have Tommy Dorfman of Juice Entertainment on for an interview here with the Tim Kulik Free Music Podcast. Welcome, Tommy.
Thanks a lot for having me. Looking forward to it. Much appreciated.
Awesome. So before we get into your whole plight with all things Live Nation, I wanted to kind of do a retrospective and go back in time and find out how you found your way into the music industry, specifically your EDM early days. So can you give me a little bit of a background and talk about what got you started in music in the first place?
Yeah, so first of all, I loved music because my dad, he'd passed away when I was 12, but he took me to so many concerts. Concerts were affordable back then. He's working class. But I went to Michael Jackson, Prince, Madonna, Motley Crue. I did Tommy Lee's events later, but fast forward years. But that got me into music.
Okay.
And then my mother remarried. It didn't work out the best for me. And around like 15, close to 16 years old, I was living on my own.
Okay.
So I rented houses, like, houses that you rent to live in. And I threw underground house parties in there to pay for the rent. Charged people to get in for $10 a keg of beer. Hot girls get in free. They were crazy. They were wild. I had people falling through attics. Definitely got kicked out of many houses. Got charged for serving hundreds of minors when I was a minor. I don't even know how that works. But
boy,
that's how I got into the business. And at the time, EDM wasn't the name. It was called house music when it wasn't cool back then, at least mainstream. And at the time that was the popular music. So that's how I got into it. I love all music, but that's how that became a passion for me. It was really through just the way life felt. And that was the crowd. And I was doing house parties over, sometimes hundreds up to 500 people, sometimes even more in houses.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I got kicked out of a lot of houses, rent a lot of houses. I was a famous house party thrower. Then, but I used to go to all the New York City clubs.
Okay.
I've been to clubs since I was 15, 14 years old, I think, and I'd go to New York City clubs like Tunnel, Limelight, some legendary clubs. And I used to then, after my house parties finally got successful, I would go after hours and bring up to 200 people with me a night. And I used to get in the front of the lines because I'm bringing so many people. And then one day, one promoter was like, "Hey, why don't I pay you? I'll give you $1 a head for to bring all these people here." I was like, "Oh, cool. I make legal money off this instead of getting in trouble." Good stuff.
Yeah, right.
So I started bringing people off those guest lists and it was doing pretty good. And then I was like, you know what? I love music. I'm good at it. Promote house parties, like my houses. I'm like, I'm good at this. I love speaking to people. I'm passionate. I'm like, I want to build a club empire. It just came into my head. My family's like, "You're crazy."
How old are you at the time?
18 years old, 17.
Jeez, that's a fast track, man.
I started doing this at 16 years old, but
yeah.
17, 18. And I was like, I want to build a club empire, So I was trying to get my own event and it was hard to get a venue. We have a lot of, the clubs are wrapped up by bigger promoters and, at the time, and I was a nobody. So I finally got a Wednesday night party from a mob boss club owner in North Jersey, Kokomo's, Jimmy Famulera, and I got nobody partied on Wednesdays at that time in New Jersey. So I got a Wednesday night. I worked on promoting this for 6 months. Me and one person. I don't have a team. We didn't even have any money. So to get the flyers to promote and everything, I guess I'll say I borrowed it from the college campuses by printing 10,000 out. I guess I still
guerrilla advertising. You do what you got to do, right?
Exactly. So we grinded, hustled, 6 months worth of work. And the first party we ended up doing 1,500 people when I had no clue what the hell I was doing. After that, people were like, "Wow, who the hell is this kid, Tommy D, that just packed out a Wednesday night when nobody parties on Wednesday?" So then I started getting a lot of people interested in me to do events for them. Over time, I built a team. And then with a lot of hard work, we built and got very successful in the industry.
So is this actually the origins of Juice Entertainment at this point, where you built this team and then decided to start branching out into different? I'm assuming you have different people doing different club events at the same time at this point, or how does that work?
That was first starting off right there. My company was called Tommy D Primetime at the time.
Okay.
And that was first starting off. Then I got bigger, and over time I built a big team over, 50 to up to 100 employees. And over time, and we were growing and then running every major club to New York, New Jersey, not everyone, but a lot, that were in the thousands of people all the way down to Miami, sometimes doing 5 parties a night. That took a lot of failure, that's for sure, to get there.
Goodness, that's a lot of work. Wow. So, I mean, that evolution is, number one, really quick. It sounds like you picked up on the growing trend in the EDM space, the house music / EDM space, and kind of rode that wave, and also built a business all around that. And it sounds like as the shows are growing, talk about the following. Talk about how people sought you out for these events, and basically how you got known for throwing these events and this specific type of music.
Yeah, so in the beginning, I was seeking the events every time, to get in those clubs. But after you're just packing out clubs, 1,000 to 5,000 people a night, week after week, consistently, then all the clubs start reaching out to you. You have clubs down the Jersey Shore, DJs in Belmar. You have Sound Factory in New York City at the time. I was one of the New Jersey director of that club. And they reach out to you, and then you're coming in there with your team, working, packing out those clubs. And they started, it went from me getting nothing to them all reaching to me. And I always did right by the clubs. I did right by the artists, did right by the fans. And I grew a really big fan base. That's one thing I learned. I made a lot of mistakes, but I also learned from them. And I learned that the fans are everything. And the fans would really follow my events. I'd put tons of money into theme parties.
Let's talk about some themes. What kind of themes would you do?
I'll do some, you can name it across the board, but one of my most famous theme parties, and it sounds stupid and simple, but it was actually, I was at the flyer on my wall, I was looking at the other day, it was called Sex Party. You know what I mean? Couldn't get away with these days, but I had a flyer fold out. The thing was crazy. I would have a crazy party inside that with beds, shows, everything, you name it across the board. I will tell you this. That party, we would spend sometimes I'd spend $10,000 a night into these theme parties, but the theme parties became so known, from white, everybody dressed in white, beach parties. I turned a whole entire club into a beach.
Sand and all?
Sand and everything. The club owner told me, well, you're not putting this in my club. I was like, I'll bring it somewhere else, and I'll move somewhere to another club. We'll clean it up. You don't have to have your people do it. But we filled the whole thing with, 2 inches of sand, bringing motorcycles and you name it. They bringing pools in the clubs. And I learned that from this guy, Richard Grant. He ran the Sound Factory. He was the owner. He used to do crazy theme parties, and I copied and pasted his, and I always wanted to do it better. And my theme parties were known, the decorations, the dancers, the performances were insane. And a lot of times, even with artists, I wouldn't even advertise that I had an artist. Maybe an artist that might be $4,000 or $5,000, breaking, artists. I would just have them pop up on stage, not even just to literally, the fans would be like, wow, who's coming? What's going on?
It was all a surprise, right?
Yeah. So these theme parties, then just going back to that first one, that simple one right there, that packed out. I would do that once, twice a year between New York, New Jersey, Miami, and would pack out every single club. And I wouldn't even have to do anything except the decorations, because they already knew it was going to be crazy and it was going to be good. And I did that once a month, between every venue, any party, any club I ran, to keep it fresh. And those artists, like I said, a lot of them I would just put up on the stage without even promoting them. People are like, why don't you do that? You're going to make money bringing them in. I was like, well, you know how exciting it is for your crowd when they're like, who the hell is going to pop up on stage? And they know. So yeah, so then a lot of the clubs started reaching out to me, and I became me and my team became on high demand to come in and pack their venues. They knew if you wanted your club packed, you'd call us.
Yeah. So at this point, you're no longer DJing, I'm assuming, right? You're basically your management at this point, or do you still DJ a little bit too?
I only DJ'd on the side just for fun. I was a promoter my whole life.
Okay. So even in the beginning, you had other people that would come in and they would mix and do everything else, and you're
I had people DJing in my house parties, bringing their equipment in when people are falling through the attics and landing on cops' heads. That's underage. That's how it started there. That's how it worked. But absolutely. And that's but you learn what people like. Even from those house parties, you started to learn we'd have corny strobe lights up, fog machines in the house, try to make it look cool, Yeah. You learned, I always learned at that point, and I learned early on how important sound systems were, how important lighting was. Literally, from the house parties when I was young, having some cool lighting in there, even if it was cheap, but it just looked good, it just made such a difference. And starting in clubs, the same thing. So lighting and sound are like so much of the atmosphere, tied in with the theme parties. But that was something I learned and I really put a lot of effort into. I'd go into many clubs over the years after I made it and I was successful, and they would spend like, there'd be a brand new $5 million club. And I'd walk in and be like, yeah, we're renting a whole sound rig to come in. I'm bringing a whole sound team in. I'm bringing a whole lighting system. And they're like, what the hell? I spent all this money. I'm like, yeah, that's because you were never in the business and you don't know what you're doing. Because I know how important that was, because it's the vibe for the crowd, for long lasting parties.
And today, of all times, the LED systems that you could put together are so dirt cheap. Like I have a friend that does that as like a hobby on the side now. And God, for a few $1,000s, you can set up a rig that's amazing, and you can use some of these language models to create, animations and controllers on an iPad and stuff like that just would blow away a rig from 20, 30 years ago. Right.
Yeah. I spent a lot of money on those LEDs, and there was, I was fortunate enough when I got featured later on in my career, there was a magazine called Live Design that just featured lighting.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, at one of my nightclubs that I owned, they featured like Prince for his stadium tours before. I put so much into the lighting that every single light was controlled by the DJ. Everything. Like literally we clicked the light and there was no lights in the whole entire building. Complete blackout. We took him in the fire lights out. So it was kind of crazy. But I was always into that and spent a fortune on that over the years. But it'd be nice to have the cheap ones now.
Yeah, because I mean, that's in essence, when you're talking about house music, EDM, it's the vibe is the lights and the sound. That's everything. The venue, like, I don't care how much money you spend on the venue. It's dark. It's going to be dark. And what you're going to experience are the strobes, the lasers, the fog, all the music, the pounding bass that keeps you moving on the dance floor until 4 a.m, that's the vibe. So
yeah, and having a sound system, like people think sometimes your loudest sound system is the best. No, if your ears hurt after the night, your sound system sucked. When it's clear music, that's when it's the best. So I learned that too. Never cut corners on sound.
Yeah. So it sounds like your venues grew to a point where I think you've quoted like 5,000 people at some point, like about 5,000 people in a venue.
Up to 10,000 people, sometimes 5 of them a night. 5 parties in the same night.
So, I mean, at that point, this is where you're expanding to a point where, God, we got to do a festival, right? Like we got to do like an all night festival or something, and like an outdoor venue where you have lawn seats and like open air seating, that kind of thing. Is this the point where you decided to start building out your business to accommodate those larger environment and performances?
Yeah, so at this point in time, I was running every major club in the East Coast. I was running like the Jersey Shore Club Karma from the MTV cast. It was kind of corny in New Jersey at the time, but I was actually the one that was dead the first year. It only did 200 people in it. MTV paid me to come in because I did all like Steve-O and all the events through all the years through Cancun and name it, from Jackass. And they paid me to come in and pack their club. I was like, I made them sign an NDA to not put me on the screen because good parties. But at the end of the day, they made a lot of money after. But I packed that place out through the roof. And I had won the #1 sound system in the world. I opened a club. I had tons of success. I had done every celebrity from Paris Hilton to Kardashians. I turned Taylor Swift down for $2,000. I don't know. That was a shame. But so I'd done everything and reached everything that I ever dreamed of as a kid, through a lot of failures to get there, though,
Yeah.
And
well, it sounds like you tried a lot of things, a lot of different things, and took a lot of risk. And I mean,
promotions is a lot of risk. People don't get it. Independent promoters, everything's a risk. And sometimes I lost bad, and then other times you win big. But over time, we got really good. When I learned. And so I reached all those goals, and I was like, my goal was always to create a club empire, and I did. Now I wanted to get bigger. And right at this time, house music, it's called EDM now. It wasn't called that. It wasn't mainstream. This was all underground. This was all we did. I saw that it was going mainstream. I predicted it, and I was right. So I had the State Fair Meadowlands. It's the largest fair in the East Coast. Any listeners don't know, it's the MetLife Stadium, home of the Jets and Giants. They just had the World Cup there. At the time, it was a brand new $2 billion stadium they were just building right in there. It was opening up. And the State Fair does over 500,000 attendees, has hundreds plus rides, you name it, shows, everything. And I was combining the State Fair Meadowlands with festivals. They made a festival space in there.
Okay.
To accommodate up to 100,000 people. I signed an exclusive 10-year deal. When you said people reach out to you, I got good, People are like, wow, that's a great contract. I got a 10-year contract to produce all festivals, all concerts, and all events over several weeks at the largest state fair in the East Coast. And that's how I got into the festival business. It was going well until Live Nation Entertainment found out about it.
Yeah. So let's dive deep into that now. So this is an ongoing battle still to this day. When did that battle start? And walk me through like 1,000 foot of like, you got this deal in place. Suddenly you get contacted by Live Nation. What happened?
Yeah. So this is in 2011, right when house music went mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get contacted by Live Nation. I got attacked by Live Nation. So we had all the artists lined up. I was doing Tiesto, the number one DJ in the world, Swedish House Mafia, David Guetta. We had the William Morris Agency, the biggest at the time. It was the biggest music agency for house music, which became EDM. They wanted to be our partners in this event. I had the deal in place, contract in place. We had staging in place. Lighting in place. Well, lighting's just part of it, but we had everything. Our marketing, artists were confirming, everything was happening. And then Live Nation, who I never expected to be involved in this. And people are like, what? I was like, because they did rock and roll. I didn't do rock and roll. I never crossed paths with them over my 15 years running clubs and owning clubs. I never ran into, not at all. So I was like, blocking other promoters, not blocking, but I was making sure other promoters couldn't steal my contract. I was making sure it was signed, sealed, delivered, and clean. So they didn't come in with money bags, Yeah,
sure.
So I got a call from the owner of the State Fair Meadowlands. His name's Al Dorso. He's a great guy. And he's like, listen, he called me up and he's screaming, yelling like a maniac. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, Live Nation just came here and met me. They said the Meadowlands, their stadium, they said EDM, house music, it's EDM. This is the new rock and roll. They need this. And I need to kick you out. And they're going to kick you out. They said, if I don't kick you out, they're going to block all your talent. They're going to block Tiesto from providing worldwide. They're going to block all your talent from a William Morris agency. And they're going to block all the tickets from Ticketmaster. They won't even let you get tickets for the show. He was stressed, and I was like, wow, He had been such a nice guy. So that's when I first found out about it. And then he's like, the owner of his landlord is the Meadowlands, the sports authority. They're bashing you at the sports authority to the power. It could be trashing that your guys are robbers, thieves, this. They're getting you kicked out. They won't even let me put a fence up. They're giving me a hard time trying to get my fence line set up if I don't kick you out. That's putting a fence to even do his fair.
Yeah.
So he's like, I need you to meet with these guys. So I was like, okay. I'm like, they don't do house music, And so I met with the president of Live Nation New York, Jason Miller, and the VP of talent, John D. Esposito, in New York City, not by choice, but by force. And when I met them, I walked in the door and I'm like, hi, my name's Tommy. Shut the fuck up. I'm like, I dealt with the mob a lot. They always treat me with class. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, Tommy, shut the fuck up. This is our fucking stadium. This is our place. You have no right being there. Any event, 10,000 people is ours. What the hell who the fuck do you think you are?
Jesus.
You're nobody. Going crazy. And I'm putting it in a G version, I have this stuff on tape recording. And I tried to defend us. Then they were like, we're blocking all your talent. If you don't, so they gave me an ultimatum. They said, we buy you and you partner with us at 50%. I had two business partners. And one was a legendary one named Vito Bruno. Had produced he goes studio 54 days. I only had a handshake deal with these guys. I could have kicked them out. They said, you kick your partners out. And this is after a vicious fight you can see here.
Yeah.
Loopholes in your contract. Loophole. You know what the loophole was? I needed to secure artists to perform on a stage. that they told me I'm blocking every single one of them. We won't let any artist perform on your stage. So they gave me that ultimatum. Kicked them out and partnered with them. Click of a button, the festival was over. Then I said, nah, I'm going to get my talent. This ain't happening. They said, well, then we'll block your talents from Ticketmaster. We'll block your tickets. I was like, how are you going to block my tickets? They're like, I'm like, I do business with Ticketmaster. Like, we own them. I didn't know they merged with Ticketmaster. It just had happened.
What? Yeah, like 2010, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
it was just the merger was approved, but I had no clue. So I thought they were bullshitting me actually. And then when I got out, I did a simple Google search and I was like, oh shit, we're fucked.
man. Yeah.
They followed
Yeah,
through.
because now they're holding you by the coyones, like
Yeah.
they got you.
I didn't take the, I called a shotgun marriage, but I didn't take that deal with the gun to my head. I wasn't kicking my partners out.
Right.
So, at that point in time, they called one more time. I said no. They followed through, blocked all the talent, blocked everything. The whole festival got destroyed from them. And then they defamed me across the whole entire industry. I was nominated as a so the festival, I kept fighting, trying to make it happen, but
Like other venues and
well, I kept
gathering.
fighting. I kept fighting to try to have the festival there.
Okay.
I'll tell you this: what I even did, and it's pretty funny. Live Nation used it against me in court, but I did it for a reason to try. I had this EDM. I was looking at $100 million just for 10 years, just for the EDM. Besides everything else, I was doing live, and you name it across the board. I had so much connections with the talent agencies. I got offered Charlie Sheen, and I don't know, maybe nobody today, but back in the day, he was like Taylor Swift at that time. That's when he was
With the 2.5 Men, right?
Yeah, he was all crazy at that time. He was at the peak. I got offered all the major celebrities because I always did the right thing by them. So I got offered by one of the biggest booking agencies to have Charlie Sheen, New Jersey, New York, wherever you want to put him. So I actually put him on in a venue that is like a summertime venue, and this wasn't summer. That's 150 yards. You could throw a rock and hit the Meadowlands, but it's in a swamp because the Meadowlands in a swamp. Well, it only fit 150 people inside. I had tents, heaters. I spent more money on tents and heaters than anything to the whole entire thing to put Charlie Sheen on there so I could show everyone, look, the Meadowlands is right there. It's the fucking Meadowlands. I could get Charlie Sheen in the swamp, but I can't get anyone in the Meadowlands because no one, because of Live Nation. So it's pretty fun. And they actually used that in court. They're like, yeah, he put Charlie Sheen. He admitted he put Charlie Sheen in a swamp. I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's proof of concept, right? Literally,
I wasn't going to give up, And then, end of the day, we got kicked out because we weren't able to secure talent, as Live Nation said, the loopholes, because they blocked the talent, as they said to Al Dorso from the State Fair, myself, and information. I have all their emails showing they did it. And then they want to make a lesson of me. Because at this time, EDM was going mainstream, and they said 10,000 people, we need to be involved. And they, it was very threatening what they said. I will destroy your career, we'll end you. They did. I was nominated the #1 promoter by the New Jersey Star Ledger. This is when papers used to make a difference back then.
Right.
People cared, and there was only 4 people nominated. My name got removed by the nomination because Live Nation wanted it off. They defamed me through the industry. I got blacklisted. The talent agency called, and nobody would answer my phone calls. So I went to the top. I lost everything after this, and I actually ended up going homeless for over a month from this.
Wow, that's awful, Tommy. Man, that is just it really truly is just like your website says, like a David and Goliath thing. A guy with a big, guy, I say guy, but it is an organization with a giant bag of money that's just like, no, if you don't play ball, this is what we're going to do. And we're not going to allow you access to all the things that make what you do possible. And that's really horrible. That's really horrible. And it comes down to monopolistic situations, right? And monopolistic, I know the story. We talked briefly before this about the 1990s and Pearl Jam. I know that back then when Ticketmaster pushed back on them for their venues, because Ticketmaster would throw crazy fees on top of the base fee that the artists are collecting. And now not all artists are authentic with this, because they'll charge a certain amount and they're like, oh, no, it's Live Nation. They're the ones charging you an extra 60%, when in truth, they get a kickback on the other side of it for that, on the fee side and everything else. But in their defense at that time, this is like Pearl Jam 10 and maybe their second album. So they're on tour. And 10 is, I always talk about 10 as one of the best albums out of Seattle with the most #1 hits, at least in that genre of music. I think there's not one song on that album I don't like. And
yeah, that was fire.
You know what I mean? And but for them to be so fan centric about the pricing structure and how they wanted to make sure that the fans would come and it wouldn't be burdensome to them. Because I mean, you go to now you go to a Taylor Swift concert, it's like what, $300-$400 minimum to go to a concert like that, and that's like, okay, I'm watching you on the Jumbotron and I'm here with 100,000 people, right? I still can't see you. I see a speck out there, right, performing. But I mean, you want to get anywhere near the stage, you're talking thousands of dollars. And normal people can't afford that. I mean, back in our day, in the 90s, I'd go to a concert. I grew up in Connecticut. So there was this place in New Britain called the Sting. And that's where I saw Korn for the first time, right? It was Korn, Marilyn Manson, and Danzig in a standing room only concert venue. And it was brilliant. It cost me next to nothing, because if I went to this thing as like a 20-year-old, it was $20. It was 20 or $30.
That was affordable then.
You know, but God forbid you try to find a venue that you can do that at these days. No way. No freaking way. No freaking way. So, you know, you look at this and you think about, we have a system in place in this country, supposedly, with our legislation, where we're not supposed to have monopolies like this. And in fact, you know, Ma Bell was, you know, the original AT&T in the 60s and 70s, had all the landlines in the United States. And then in 83, 84, I think it was, there was legislation that came down. Okay, you got to break this thing up. So AT&T was like New England, and then there was 7 other subsidiaries, Bell South, you know, 9X, couple other different places or whatever. And it was the only example of a modern legislative act that broke up a giant corporation. The efforts have been made for companies like Microsoft and also IBM that weren't super successful. IBM, the software and the business machines portion kind of got divested a little bit. Microsoft, they lost against that one. But like this focus on one entity having so much control and so much power over one part of some industry, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way, because it's so anti-competitive, and it keeps people out like yourself that are on the edge of a new music style, and ultimately the people attending these events and these venues and everything are the ones that suffer, because they're going to gouge. They're going to try to squeeze as much, you know, juice out of the grape as they can, right? And that's ultimately what that is. I mean, you said it perfectly. 10,000 people, you know, 10,000 plus. There's a number to that with them at so many dollars a head.
And that was 10,000 at that time. Now they're in the clubs at 1,000. So it's gotten worse.
Yeah. And we're experiencing a problem down here, right in Ybor City, Tampa. And there's a gentleman that the Crowbar, Tom DeGeorge, he's closing his doors end of this month. He's been doing it for 20 years. He's closing his doors, and he was the biggest advocate of the independence of that area. The whole Ybor City area of Tampa is super independent. It's based on like it's a historical district, so it's a lot of venues are smaller, but they're more intimate. I mean, that's one of the reasons I like some of the comedy clubs that are down here. There's a place called Side Splitters, and you could see national acts doing like testing for their next bit, and they'll come and they'll do a show for 3 or 4 days testing out new material. 150, 180 person venue. Then you get to do a meet and greet and take pictures of the person afterwards. It's freaking great. You know, like those are the kind of things those are the experiences that you live with. Like you take to your grave with you, and you're like, oh, this is one. Like I had this experience. I was able to meet this dude. You know, I was able to shake hands with one of my favorite people. Like whether good, bad, or indifferent, if you had a good experience or not is regardless. You had the opportunity. You can't do that at Meadows, you know what I mean? You can't do that at a 100,000 person or, you know, million, 500,000 person attended event. There's no way that you're not going to get access to people like that, you know? So that level of intimacy and that level of being able to, and the independence is so important. And I think the competitiveness and the open competitiveness is so important. And this just bothers the hell out of me that this has now been going on for 15 plus years for you.
16 years.
16 years. Yeah. And how do you stomach it at this point? I mean, you haven't given up, which shows your tenacity, and it shows your desire to right a wrong so to speak, and to make headway in the direction of what it should be, which is a more open environment. Are you beleaguered at this point? Like, how do you feel? I'd love to know, like, inside in your gut, like, what's Tommy doing now? Like, how does Tommy feel?
Yeah. So first, I want to just say to what you said. I support Tampa. I can always get the saying the city wrong, so my apologies, but I support Tampa, supporting independent promoters, and it's not cool. And you're absolutely right. Independent promoters make the whole industry. You went back to my career, what made it, like themes, doing it exciting for the fans, meet and greets, keeping it personal. It builds artists. It builds creativity, and it gets people involved, and it builds the whole industry. So it's a shame what's happened, and it needs to change. Going back, what did you say there?
Oh, we were talking about. I was wondering, what are you feeling at this point after 16 plus years of battling this thing? Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel? Do you feel like this is, no matter what, this is a lifelong battle you're going to have? Good, bad, or indifferent, you're going to see it to the end. Like, what are your thoughts and what are your feelings at this point after a decade and a half of just fighting?
Yeah, it's been a little long. I
Yeah.
ain't gonna lie, you get a little tired.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. Legal fees are very expensive, and when I have one really good lawyer, Andrew Smith, but I battle a $36 billion company with 2,000 lawyers and 2,000 paralegals. So I do a lot of legal work besides just my regular business on a day-to-day, just to be able to survive and continue the case. So it's painful. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. I don't enjoy this shit.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do is just throw parties and have people enjoy it and do what I love, my passion, that got taken from me. So I'm pissed, you know what I mean? Obviously,
Yeah, I don't blame you.
As the years passed, at first I just wanted my festivals back, wanted my career back. I have their executives tape recorded confessing to this. So I thought they hear the tape recordings, apologize, give me my festival back, give me some money, get me my feet. That didn't work so well. Then I needed apology. That's a part of the thing they won't accept. But then after time passed, I've seen information of how they've just been ripping off fans, kill, this. I'm like the first victim of this Live Nation Ticketmaster merger, or one of them. They've artists every single day they're ripping off, independent promoters every single day, and then the fans the most. And over time, seeing this information and I'm just like, you know what? I need to expose this at trial, to expose this. I don't even call it a company. I call it a criminal enterprise. And I'm like, I can't quit, So it became a thing where it was all about me, and then it was financial. And now it's like, it's for the industry I love.
Yeah.
I want independent promoters to be able to thrive again. I want fans to play, like you were talking about, pay reasonable prices.
Yeah.
$800 to sit in those.
Look, gouge me on the $85 shirt you're going to charge me for, right? Like, I get it. Merch is where you make the extra money and everything else. Fine. But get me in the door first, right? Get me in the door and charge me $25 for a beer, right?
If there wasn't this one monopoly controlling the whole entire company and squeezing every vendor for every dollar, I say illegally, but squeezing everybody, which inflates the ticket price costs, and squeezing, like you said, $25 beers, lawn chairs in the DOJ trial. Michael Rapino said there was security risk to bring your own, even though they just partner with Lowe's, so you got to pay them $15 to $20 for a lawn chair rental. They squeeze any way they can, and it's just too much. And so it's tough, and it's definitely a burden on me. But I'm doing this for the fans now, and now I'm really doing it. Like, I want to change the industry. I've wanted this, but it's not for me. I want kids. Like, I have kids. My one kid wants to put on concerts, and I'm like, yeah, you got to go to college. He's like, you didn't, Daddy. You were living on your own. I was like, yeah, too bad. You're going to college.
Right.
He's like, well, I'm like, all right, well, I'm keeping fighting Live Nation. So unless something happens, you're going to college. I'm like, you don't have, he's like, everybody said you were against all odds. You had no chance. I said, yeah, well, right now you really have no chance unless you want Live Nation to own you, which I'll never let happen for you.
Right.
So I want other people's kids, and I want the next generation to be able to, if you're a promoter, be able to put on shows, not have to be owned by one company, an artist not be owned by one company, and fans to be able to pay fair prices, and creativity. You know how many Taylor Swifts out there are? People are like, wait, what are you talking about? I turned her down for $2,000 when she was doing country at the time when it was crossing over.
Right.
But I like her. I do like her music. I just had I think I had something from MySpace that was free that night with a hip hop artist that packed the venue. But there's probably
So a lot of the kids today don't know what the hell that is, you know?
No doubt. There's thousands of Taylor Swifts out there. And people are like, what do you mean? There are. They just don't have the opportunity. They're never developed. It's basically like if you took basketball and you said there's only high school and there's no college basketball, you know how many, Michael Jordans would be missing, and you name it, Tom Brady's, in football across the board. That's what's going on. So there's so many artists I feel bad for too, that they're passionate. And I don't blame these artists. You went back to Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam took a stand.
Yeah.
I give them props. And now they have to bow to Live Nation because they realized with Ticketmaster, which was like the baby of Live Nation, it was like Godzilla is a baby. Now it's a big monster. They couldn't even put on a show. That was only against Ticketmaster. That's why artists don't speak up now. I want artists to be able to have a voice. They're silent. There was information that came out by NBC, an investigation that Live Nation said they're going to squeeze acts into submissions if they don't perform at their venues. You know how many artists spoke up about that? Zero.
Yeah. Zero, because...
Can you think of any other industry in the world? Our nurses, we're going to squeeze them until they pass out to work. Our workers at Walmart, that there wouldn't be big protests outside the companies? That's how... I hate monopolies, all of them. But that's how powerful this one is. It's way beyond than anything else, and they control the whole industry and not even just the U.S., in the world.
Yeah. At that point, what you're getting is you're getting kind of a homogenized. I don't want to denigrate any act whatsoever. Okay. But what ends up happening is the same thing that happens in Hollywood. And that is, you have a handful of studios like in Hollywood, and they put out a handful of movies a year, and they don't take risks because established IP, they know will make money. Certain historical stories will make money. You can do a vampire movie or a Dracula movie every several years or whatever, and it's going to make money if you put the right actors and actresses in play. Everything else, right? And novel ideas and novel stories just don't come out of that. I mean, one studio like A24 is doing amazing work now for dirt cheap budgets. They're doing, $10-20 million. They did Backrooms for $20 million. They did, most of it was practical effects, i.e. they built like a 40,000 square foot set where people are walking, climbing around and everything. I don't know if you know anything about the movie, but the point is that they did this thing for a fraction of what, say, the Marvel universe does a movie for. They did Quantum Mania for $250 million, and you got to 2.5 times that to make your money back. And it's an era where everything's bloated. Everybody's like spending all this money, so they've got to recoup all this stuff, and they're not taking any chances or any risks. And that's what independent venues and independent promoters and everything are there for. They're the ones that go to, a 200-person attended event at UConn in Storrs, Connecticut, and discover like the next Beck, who's just like, oh my God, like this sound is so new and so like unique and like we gotta let's do an album. We'll do a deal with an album. Let's see how it goes. We'll get you, blah, blah, blah. But like that's the kind of thing that you need in this industry, so that, like you said, there's so many more. There's 100 Taylor Swifts for a Taylor Swift, but you don't know about them if you don't have those people out there looking and they have the ability to promote them in venues and not have this stonewall and this gatekeeping like we're experiencing now. More precedented than it sounds like we've ever had, based on your experience and the fight that you're in the middle of.
Yeah, you're right on the money there. There's thousands of every different ones. Taylor Swift's, you name it, any industry. They're all missing. And they're there. They just aren't developed. And the independent promoters, they take the risks. But they also make it creative. What's gonna happen in the next future? Like you said, there's these big artists, and Hollywood stuff. I don't know that much, but I'll tell you this: I love the old school movies. I was like, damn, the acting was so much better. You look at old school movies, so much better.
Yeah, there's been some new stuff that's been quite good. There's Christopher Nolan stuff and some other directors are phenomenal, and even with like the bigger Hollywood budgets and everything else, there's still stuff that comes out of it. I don't want to say everything's an old IP or like that. Like using extremes like that is never good, whether you're trying to support your argument or not. The point being is that it's few and far between at this point. I think there's a lot of risk aversion when it comes to stuff like that, and I think you're going to get that with these venues because let's face it, let's look at Live Nation as a corporate entity. Their job is to squeeze out as much profit as possible with all these venues as humanly possible as they can for their shareholders, right? And that means they have to have predictable events, predictable things, and full control over the venue and everything that's going on there. And full control of where all the money flows through it. And I get why. It doesn't mean it's right. Because if it's hurting the independents, if it's hurting independent artists, if it's hurting independent promoters, if it's hurting any progression of the art, I feel like there needs to be a pause, and you need to look at it closer, and you need to look at ways to mitigate that problem, because it's not a way to move forward. It's not a way to be open and openly creative as a nation or as a society to create these brick walls around this stuff.
Independents have no chance right now. Even the bigger independent promoters, okay? Just say out there. Live Nation takes so many kickbacks from these venues. It came out in the DOJ trial, the Barclays Center, if anybody's not familiar with that, in New York. Independent promoters putting on a show there. It wasn't at the trial, but the information got leaked. Well, not leaked. It came out on Pacer, and I saw it. When an independent promoter is putting on a show and an artist putting on a show, they put their money, they put their sweat, their creativity into it. Whatever amount of people they do in the venue, they may lose, okay? You lose and you win. Live Nation's not involved with the venue. They don't run the venue. The venue pays them $3 a head per ticket that the independent promoter sells. So you do 30,000 people, that's $90,000 while they're
doing nothing. Yeah.
And the independent promoter and artist might have lost money on the event. It's something like
But it's for the privilege to do the event there, basically, right?
It's Live Nation's not doing the event.
Yeah. But I'm saying for them. Yeah.
If you want Live Nation to put a show on there, you pay them while other people are putting their sweat and money in. And how can an independent, can you imagine that in any other industry? So it's impossible for the independent promoters to compete. That's why most of them get acquired by Live Nation, take the payout, which I didn't, and I don't blame any of them, like if they want to, but end of the day, it's a shame how it is, and things need to change because it's one company controlling, and this is spreading way more than this is the US. And I've been warning Europe, and I got attacked by some of these so-called independent agencies or groups that say they're, for the fans and artists. And I warned, I was talking to German press. I warned Germany, they were asking me, I was like, give Live Nation an inch, they'll take a mile. UK, I was warning them. Australia, UK's coming out now saying, wait, our festivals are being wiped out. Wait, our independent promoters are wiped out. And there's they said it's a climate of fear. Their parliament, that they were shocked that the people were saying, wow, we'll tell you this, but you can't use our name. And they're scared. I was like, well, this is a normal in the US. But it's spreading there, and they're partnering in, with companies like the Oakview Group, Irving Azoff, who they started the merger with Live Nation across the world right now.
Wow.
That's just we're in the DOJ trial, and they're buying everything. So they're in like 70 plus countries. I think it's 80 countries, Live Nation and Ticketmaster now, more than they even advertised.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
You cannot put on a global tour. I challenge people. I was like, they're like, oh, you can do bit. I'm like, find me a global tour, unless it's on a farm, you know what I mean? That you can put on without having Live Nation Ticketmaster involved. And there's not one person that's ever told me different, unfortunately. And
that's
I wish
incredible growth. That's incredible growth.
And they're just buying, even with being convicted by the DOJ now for being a monopoly, guilty, or not the DOJ, the state AG is the DOJ caved. They're still buying everything. Purchase Saudi Arabia, purchase Italy, promoter purchase. It is nonstop. So this, you call it, I call it a mafia, but they're controlling the whole entire world now. It's going to grow into, and just like UK, I'd warned them when people had reached out to me a few years ago. Australia, same thing. It's going on there. It is France. There is no, well, now it's starting to happen. They're going to take over everything. End of the day, there's going to be no independence left in the world.
Have other independent promoters joined your fight?
So I have.
You don't have to name anybody. I'm just, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not looking for that, but.
Well, I'll say this. Independent promoters speak to me all the time behind the scenes, and they say thank you.
Okay.
They're like, thank you so much. Some of them are wiped out and out of the industry. Some are in there, and they're like, talk to me. They go, listen, we can't say we talk to you. We support you. Please help us. But we appreciate what you're doing, but we can't. I said, dude, I get it. You won't be in business, because most of them they're intertwined with Live Nation and have to be because they can't put a show. So, that's a shame. I have somebody that has been supporting me. His name's John Scher. He's an independent promoter. He actually put on the Woodstocks, not the first one, but the two ones in the 90s. And he was one of the largest promoters. He went from doing 50 shows. I think he's down to 1 or 2 shows. Giant Stadium, the area where I was putting on MetLife. This guy's a living legend. He, created a lot of the industry. He's come out and supported me. One of the few people that were willing to go on record supporting me.
Yeah.
So
I can understand the fear.
But I understand the fear, and I'm not mad at anybody that doesn't. I have artists that speak to me. Same thing. Yo, thank you for calling this all out. Thank you for saying we won't speak out. And I was like, I get it. I'm being the voice for you because I know you can't speak out because you won't be able to put on a show either. And artists just want to, and some people hate on the bigger artists, and I don't, because they're like, they make so much money, they could change this. And I'm like, I agree with you. But I came from nothing. Most of these artists and independent promoters worked their ass off to get where they got. And you know what? It's not always about money. It's about you want to have those shows and those experiences and those stadiums for your fans. That's what drives you. And at the end of the day, you talked about Pearl Jam. That was one of the world's largest artists, popular artists at the time. Made a stand that Godzilla being a baby got wiped out. Had to then work with Godzilla as a baby. And now Pearl Jam doesn't say a word.
Yeah.
Because they learned their lesson. You can't, you know? And I don't blame Pearl Jam either because they don't want to go through what they went through again. And it's a shame because people shouldn't be in a climate of fear. Artists shouldn't be able to speak out and say, this is wrong. Independent promoters shouldn't be able to speak out. I don't blame them or anybody, but it shouldn't in a civilized society, it shouldn't happen like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds to me like you're at a stage where I don't want to say it's a stalemate, but it's a fight where it's doing this, right? And there's hopefully an end in sight. I think it's going to require some level of legislative assistance, and depending upon what legislation is in place is probably what's going to determine whether or not that happens. We know fully well in this country, there's certain groups that loosen up government oversight, and there's certain groups that tighten the reins on things with businesses and government oversight. And currently we don't have that in office. We don't have that oversight making sure that things are equitable across the board, at least as much as possible. Granted, both have their hands in the same cookie jar. I don't typically get very political on my show, so I'm that's why I'm talking in nonsense right now. I'm talking in code because
let's do it.
Yeah, because personally, Tommy, I think there's things to be gained on both sides of the aisle, and I honestly think so much more could be done if we just work together, regardless of conservative versus liberal and all that stuff. And I just think, or independent, anything, you know what I mean? Like whatever, if we should have like a billion party system for all I care.
I'll agree with you right there. And I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
There is nothing bipartisan in this country, but there's one thing: breaking up Live Nation and Ticketmaster and splitting them up. Because the DOJ and the current administration, Kate, settled the case a week into trial. I'm not sure if you're aware of.
No.
Okay. When they were at trial, 1 week in, they settled the case. Their head prosecutor went in front of the judge, didn't even know the case was settled. The judge didn't know the case was settled. I'm out of New Jersey. I deal with the mafia. I talked to like a John Elite, huge mafia guys. And I was like, can you guys ever, 5 families, get a case settled without the judge knowing, without the head prosecutor knowing, even if you paid people off? No. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying anything like that, but that got settled. The state AGs, There was like 30 something states. I'll give props here where it's due. This was bipartisan. They, against heavy pressure from the current government to settle, they continued to fight together. And they won at trial. They had the lawyer that picked up the case, talk about craziness and underdogs, Jeffrey Kessler. Props to this guy, rock star. I've been battling Live Nation for 16 years. It takes a lot learning this information. They had no lawyer when the DOJ settled. This guy picked up the case and had to try the case within 1 week.
Wow.
Did it really good job within 1 week. Some people hate it, like, oh, I didn't do it. I'm like, dude, 1 week picking up and learning this shit. He won. And the state AGs won. Live Nation was found guilty. Now it's in a remedies phase. But I will just talk about bipartisanship. I think that is because fans. It doesn't matter if you're from the South, the North, you're rich, you're poor, you live in a trailer park, you're elitist, black, white, alien. It doesn't matter. Fans all want to be able to go to concerts because I believe concerts are a basic human right. And I think they know music is too. And I think that's how they feel. So that's why I'm not saying all these politicians did it of the goodness of their heart. I think they did it because the fan base is so strong.
Yeah.
You know?
And their constituents.
I tell everyone, all these state AGs, either party, independent, Republican, Democrat, I don't care what you are. Anyone that did this, if you care about music, vote these people in the higher office, you know? Because bipartisanship is needed. And this is the only thing I've ever seen that's been bipartisan in a long time.
Wow. Well, I think the hope here is that determination drives it. And you said, what was this phase that it's at now? Now that there's been a judgment made?
It's in the judge's hand right now. There's letters. Anybody listening to this when it comes out up to September, anybody can write letters to the Department of Justice that the judge will personally read in the remedies phase. As the states are calling for Live Nation to be broke up into many pieces. Okay. I've called for them to be put in as many pieces as possible and shut down. So I'll definitely be putting my letter in, and I'm hoping the judge takes his time to read it. But any fans, you can submit that in there and let your voices be heard by the judge in the Department of Justice.
So a remedies phase allows for a review based on that input, and then a determination is made at that point how much it's broken up. Is that inaccurate?
Let me clarify that.
Yeah, okay.
The state AGs won a trial.
Okay.
That's going to its own remedies phase.
Okay.
The DOJ settled for a parking ticket for Live Nation equivalent. People were like, oh, it was like a couple $100 million. I'm like, God, great settlement. It's worth four days worth of revenue of Live Nation. Okay, so it's equivalent to a parking ticket.
Slap on a wrist. Yeah.
A slap, let's call it a love tap, not even a slap. Love tap. As the administration love tap. So this is a separate thing. It's called the Tooney Act. It hasn't ever been in place since like Richard Nixon. It was where if the government settles a case and it's so against public interest, the Tooney Act could be put in place. The judge put in the Tooney Act. So now for the DOJ settlement, it didn't stand yet. Fans, independent promoters, artists, especially fans, they're able to submit the request. And there's not enough stuff out there. I'm trying to push it, but there's not enough stuff from any organization pushing for the fans to be able to even know about this. They can submit their information to the Department of Justice and let them know this is not competition, because the Department of Justice is happy with what they did.
Right.
And the fans know. Let them know, listen, we want independent promoters. We want to be affordable concerts. We want artists to be developed. And this company needs to be split up into as many pieces as possible or shut down. And if the fans do that, good chance the judge can overturn. The judge then has the authority to overturn the DOJ settlement as well and say it does not stand, and he's going to enforce stricter remedies because it's for the public good.
Gotcha. So if somebody wants to follow your battle and support you in any way, how would they reach out and how would they get in contact with you, or where would they go to follow you and find out this information?
Well, I would say this. I have many social accounts, but my Twitter account, X account, has been the one that's been getting the most viral lately, as I had Live Nation's top lawyers attack me on there. Their head of Ticketmaster I battle with. So it's Tommy D Prime Tim, because my company is Prime Time, Tommy D Prime Tim, TIN1. If you follow me on there, support, or look at the information I'm sharing, DM me. I'm willing to go speak anywhere to help fans. help independent. I'm willing to go to, if you want me to speak at a legislature, I'll be there. If you want me to speak in front of a stadium for you, I'll be there. So I'm creating an organization. I don't have a name for it, just so you know. I just came up with this, but I've been working on it. It's going to be a fan-based organization. Because right now, there's so much lobbyists, there's so much money, there's no fan base. We have these like artist groups that tied in with Live Nation, tied in with Irving Azoff. The fans don't have a seat at the table. And the fans are the ones that funnel the whole industry. There is no, like, I learned this quickly when I was younger.
Yeah.
The fans are everything.
There's no Live Nation. Right, there's no Live Nation without fans.
There's no artists. There's nobody. The fans don't have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
So I am working on creating an organization. I don't have a name yet. Anybody can go on my Twitter there and DM me, and they want to be a head from a state. They can create the name, where we're going to build this across the nation. And we're going to have this where fans are going to lobby for what's right for fans, not for lobbyist money or political money or Live Nation. For what's right for them, what they care about. If they want dynamic ticketing, where you sit on a queue and it's $50 and yay, the error code, you kicked off the queue and you're back on the queue. Again, it's $800. If you want to know what a ticket actually costs, it sounds like a crazy thing these days. To me, it's pretty simple. There was just a politician that came out in New Jersey, a Congresswoman Nellie Powell. Came out, asked for a proposal that it was in the last few days, that fans could know what a ticket actually costs before they go to sit on a queue. And then a fan could actually know how many tickets are still available. So if you go on there and you're getting pressure to buy, because it's $800 now when you're sitting on there and you thought it was $50, but you think it's sold out. And meanwhile, there's 5,000 seats still available. To me, that's just common sense that fans should be able to know. And there's big pushback. No, that's terrible. So I'm creating an organization that's there for the fans. That's going to be where the fans have a seat at the table, because lobbyists have a lot of money. Obviously, Live Nation does. But you know what? Fans have power because we vote. And if you're passionate, this is a bipartisan issue. Fans are passionate and they care about music. And one thing people care about is music. And they can get officials elected and unelected for what they do. You put them in office. They can take money. They can, rightfully so. I'm not saying bribes, who knows, but whatever they do, if they don't do the right thing or you care about music, you can put these people in office and you can pull them out.
Right.
So that's what I'm pushing for. I don't have a name for it, but I'm a fan movement that I'm going to build across this nation and across the world. Like when I started my club empire for nothing, everybody told me I couldn't do it. I'm going to do this. For the fan.
Fantastic, man. It sounds like the fight is as strong as ever, and man, you've got the sleeves rolled up as tight as they can be, if not tighter than ever before. 16 years in, I give you credit for your tenacity.
I'm just getting started.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Well, it's been amazing talking to you about this. I hope these efforts have a much quicker than 16-year going forward resolution at this point. It sounds like
anybody else.
More so than anybody else, I'm sure you feel that way. And hopefully this new organization and this new movement that you're trying to generate and gain some traction with will ultimately find that goal. So I look forward to catching up with you down the road and seeing what progress you've made, and hopefully the progress that'll ultimately make the ability to have these venues more independent and less of a conglomerate and a monopolistic environment, so that ultimately the fans get what they want, which is new, exciting, independent music and unhindered, unhindered and just art for the sake of art. And that's really what we're talking about here. So thank you so much, Tommy. I appreciate your time today, and I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much. And thank you for anybody that took the time to listen.